Hello everyone, welcome to Well Explained Pedia. So today we will study your geography chapter which is for class 9th drainage. Okay, so I am Soumya Singh and I will be taking your class. So in this lecture we will study about drainage basin, means what is a drainage basin, then drainage system in India with reference to India, and then two types of or two classes of rivers, Himalayan and peninsular. Okay, so let's start. So what is drainage? Drainage is any area which a river drains. Okay, what does drains means? Water flows through it. Okay, simply said drain का मतलब क्या होता है? नाली या नाला. तो उसमें क्या होता है? नाली में भी पानी बहता है ना. ठीक है. तो ऐसे ही रिवर के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में ड्रेनेज मतलब that area through which water flows. Okay. जैसे यहाँ लिखा है, it describes the river system of an area, and the area drained by a single river system is called its drainage basin. Okay, so in this diagram you can see, so drainage, I have told you, drainage basin is a broader concept. So basin of a river is that area from which the river gets its water discharge. Suppose it's raining here, so this water which will rain here, it will also flow through this slope into the river. So all this dotted area, as you can see, this dotted area, this is the basin of the river because it's getting water from all these areas, from rainfall, from the tributaries like small rivulets. Okay, all these are taking water to the main river. So this is the drainage basin. Okay.
Okay, so what is a basin? So river basin is an area from where the river receives all the water for its discharge. Like आपने अपने घर में देखा होगा बेसिन होता है, जिसमें किचन में बेसिन होता है, उसमें बर्तन रखते हैं. तो उसमें क्या होता है, उसमें पानी गिरता है और इकट्ठा होकर ड्रेन में चला जाता है. तो ऐसे ही कंसेप्ट है रिवर बेसिन का. अब जैसे सपोज इट इज रेनिंग, ओके, सो ऑल द रेन वाटर विल आल्सो फ्लो through the different areas and it will go into the river or a stream or any other thing which flows. Okay, so it will get into the river and flow with the river. So river is getting water from rainfall also, river is getting water from its source also, like a glacier or any other lake which is present, like Godavari river origins from Trimbakeshwar lake in Nasik. So there can be any source, like, okay, so it is getting water from many sources. So water coming from all the sources and collecting in the main river flows with the river, and this is known as the basin.
So in India, drainage basin is controlled by broad relief. What is relief? Relief means height. Simply said, relief means height. That's it. Now that height can be the height of a mountain, that height can be height of a hill, and that height can be height of a plateau also. So in South India, Deccan Plateau is also a type of relief because it has got height. Similarly, a depression is also a relief. Depression means valley. Suppose this is a mountain. Okay, this is a mountain. So this area, this is called valley. So if you see relatively, this is also a height. Okay, if you stand here and see it. So this is also a relief. So all these things are relief. So all these reliefs determine the drainage system in India. Okay, and accordingly there are two, Himalayan and peninsular. Now let's move on. So now we will compare both the system. So in Himalaya, the rivers originate from the glaciers. I will tell you few examples, then you will have to read more. So Ganga rises from Gangotri, Yamuna rises from Yamunotri. Both these rivers rise from Uttarakhand. It is a state. Okay. Then there is a river called Tista. Okay. It is in Sikkim and it rises through Zimu Glacier. Okay. You might not have heard about Tista, so you can Google it. I am telling you the glacier. If you want to read more about this river, you can Google. So all the rivers of the Himalaya rise from glacier. In peninsula, they originate from the plateau. How? From the lakes. Like I will tell you in the upcoming slide that Godavari river, which is also called Budi Ganga, it rises from Trimbakeshwar lake in Nasik. So in South India, rivers originate from lakes. Okay. Their catchment area is very large. What is a catchment area? Catchment area and river basin are the same things. Catchment area means from where it catches the water towards itself, and that water becomes a part of the river. Okay. Then catchment area of peninsular rivers is small. Then Himalayan rivers are engaged in high erosion activity because of the height. Because of the height at which they fall, so the velocity of the river is very high. And when the velocity is high, then the erosion will be high. You can do an activity. You can take a water in a glass and then go to a park or maybe a flower pot in your home, and you slowly drop water. Okay, so the soil will be disturbed. But if you will throw it very fast, then the soil will come out. Why? Because of the velocity. So this is the same case in Himalayan rivers. And the opposite is in peninsular rivers, because height is not there, so rivers flow very slowly. Now Himalayan rivers are useful in irrigation. Peninsular rivers are not very useful. Why? Because they dry. They dry in the winter season because there is no rainfall. Okay. So how irrigation occurs in South India? It occurs through tanks. Okay. So there are big tanks in which water is stored. Okay. Like in North India, tube wells are used. If you have gone to villages or if you go to national highway, so you must have noticed that in the fields you can see the tube wells. So there is a generator, and through it the water is sucked from groundwater. Okay, so that is a tube well. Now these are perennial. I told you Himalayan rivers are perennial, means they flow all around the year. And the peninsular rivers are not perennial because they dry in winter season. Okay, now few examples you can see: Indus, Ganga, and for peninsular like Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri. These are enough. There are many other rivers, but these are main names, so you can remember them. Now this map is for you. So I told you about Indus. Right now it is a perennial river, Himalayan river. So this is Indus. I am marking with an arrow, and it flows through India, then goes into Pakistan, and then drains into Arabian Sea. Then Ganga rises from Uttarakhand through Gangotri Glacier. This is the Ganga. Okay, and it drains into Bay of Bengal. This is the delta. And similarly, this is Brahmaputra. These are three main Himalayan rivers, and these are very major rivers. So let's start with Indus. It rises in Tibet. It is near Lake Mansarovar. See there, here it is written a Kailash Mansarovar lake. So Indus rises through this lake. Okay. Then it has got tributaries. In my previous lectures, I have told you about tributaries of Indus. So Jhelum, Satluj, Chenab, Ravi, and Byas. Okay. Length you don't need to remember, and this is a treaty with Pakistan. You don't need to remember. Now Ganga. So Ganga is the largest river of the Indian subcontinent. It is larger than Brahmaputra and Indus. It flows through 5 states of India. I told this in previous lecture. Okay. If you remember, it's good. If you don't remember, then you need to watch it again. Okay. Then it goes through great Gangetic plains of northern India into Bangladesh. And I told you the source also. Okay. You have to remember this. Now the main features of Ganga system are: length you don't need to remember, it is the largest basin, you must know this, and it goes from Himalayas through plains into Bay of Bengal. Then you can remember its tributaries also. Yamuna, we all know, it flows through Delhi and meets Ganga at Allahabad, you know Sangam, right? So it's a meeting point of 3 rivers, Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati. Saraswati river is now disappeared. So now you can see only 2 rivers. Okay. In Bangladesh, it is known as Padma. You must remember this. And in Bangladesh, Brahmaputra is called Meghna. So Ganga is called Padma and Brahmaputra is called Meghna. You must remember this. And it creates the largest delta in the world with Sundarbans. Okay. Now Brahmaputra rises to the east of Mansarovar Lake. We just now saw Mansarovar Lake. Okay. So this is Mansarovar. So east of Mansarovar means around this area. Around this area, Brahmaputra rises and it flows eastward and then enters India through the Himalayas. Which peak? Namcha Barwa. You have to remember Namcha Barwa and makes a U-turn. Its tributary is Dibang and Lohit. And it also forms a riverine island. Means there is an island in between the river. Like this. This is a river and this is an island. And people live on this island between the river. Okay. Now let's move on. Now this is the southern part of India. You must take out an atlas. I should have told you before, but now you can take out your atlas because learning geography with maps helps you remember for a very long time. Okay. So now Mahanadi. See, on the eastern coast we have got 4 major rivers. So I am telling you Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri. This is Kaveri. It arises from Brahmagiri hills in Karnataka. Okay, from a lake and it flows through Tamil Nadu. Okay, so you have to remember these 4 major rivers which flow into Bay of Bengal: Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri. So now we will read about it. So arises in central India in Chhattisgarh, drains in eastern coast, famous for Hirakud Dam, and its tributaries are Sionat, Mang, Ib, Hasdeo, Ong, Peri, Jong, Telen. So you don't have to remember all these tributaries, but if there is a famous tributary which is in news, then you must know. Otherwise, you just read it, no need to remember it. Then Godavari, I told you, Budi Ganga or Virudha Ganga, it is India's second largest river or longest river, arising from Triambakeshwar. Okay, this is in Nasik district and it flows through Maharashtra, Telangana, Andhra, Chhattisgarh and Odisha, means 5 states. Why? Because it's very big. Okay, now its left bank tributaries are Purna, Pranhita, Indravati and Sabri, and right bank are Pravara, Manjira, Manair. Moving on, Krishna River, it is the 4th biggest, also known as Krishnaveri, and flows through Maharashtra, Karnataka, Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. It arises in Maharashtra in Mahabaleshwar. If you have few of you might know this place, Mahabaleshwar. It is a tourist spot. Okay, it's a picnic spot in Maharashtra. Okay, so its left bank tributaries are Bhima, Dindi, Pedavaru, Musi, Paleru, Moneru. Bhima is a famous river, so you can remember it. And its right bank tributaries are Koyna. Koyna is also a famous river, Koyna Reservoir. This was in news very long time back because Koyna Reservoir. So because of this reservoir means a place where water is stored. So near Koyna, earthquake came. Why? Because of this reservoir. This reservoir became so heavy that earthquake came. So that's why this river became famous. Okay. Then Panchganga, Durganga, Ghatprabha, Malprabha and Tungabhadra. Tungabhadra is also a famous river. You can remember these 3 rivers: Bhima, Koyna and Tungabhadra. Now last river which flows into Bay of Bengal is Kaveri. It is a sacred river. Okay, लोग पूजा करते हैं इसकी. It flows to Karnataka and Tamil Nadu and also Puducherry. Puducherry is a union territory. Okay, its origin is Tal Kaveri on the Brahmagiri range. Okay, and its tributaries are Harangi, Hemavati, Kabini, Bhavani, Lakshman Tirth, Noyal and Arkavati. Okay, now let's move on. Now Narmada River and Tapi River are in central India. Okay, it is also known as Riva or Nirbuda. Okay, and it is a lifeline of Madhya Pradesh. Why? Because Madhya Pradesh doesn't have much rivers, so Narmada is its lifeline. Okay, and also Gujarat, because Gujarat is bit of a dry state like Rajasthan. Most of it is covered by salt pans, like Run of Kutch. It is a salty area. Now this river rises from Amarkantak Plateau, okay, and it makes the north-south boundary of India, flows westwards and drains into Arabian Sea. Its main tributaries are Sher, Shakar, Dudi and Tawa. Now Tapi is also in central India. It is between Godavari and Narmada, and it also flows westwards into Arabian Sea. Okay, now its origin is in Betul, and from there it enters Maharashtra and then Gujarat. Okay, and its tributaries are Purna, Girna and Panjara. Okay, so now you can remember the tributaries if you want to. If you don't want, you can remember one or two tributaries at maximum. It will not come in your exam. You just need to know which river arises from where, flows in which direction, drains into which sea. Okay, so you can see these diagrams, and I have explained this portion on the board with a diagram. Okay, let's see it.
Okay, so now we will understand the types of deltas. So there are many types of deltas. I will explain you only three because these three are the main ones. So Cascade delta is the tooth-shaped delta. If you see here, the river is flowing like this. Okay, this is the land or the deposit. So the river flows like this, and if you see, this is like a tooth shape. So hence tooth shaped Dora Cascade delta. Then arcuate delta is like a fan shaped delta or curved. Curve means like this, or this is also known as an arc. Okay, so the river is flowing like this, and these are the deposits. Okay, and river is flowing like this. So this delta develops, and then we come to the bird's foot delta. This is very fine material, alluvium, alluvial soil, that is the same thing. So if you see, this is like a bird's foot. Okay, so this is the flow of river, and this is the deposits. So hence these three deltas are very common across the world. Like bird's foot delta is in Mississippi River. If you have an atlas and if you see the Mississippi River, you will notice this kind of delta. Similarly for Ganga, you will see this kind of delta, arcuate. Just see near the Sundarbans, West Bengal, you will see this type of delta. And for Cascade delta, we need to see that Tiber River. It is in, I think, near Egypt. So if you see all these rivers, you will see this pattern of the deltas. Okay, or you can also see the Nile River. Okay.
Now these are the type of drainage. You have to understand these drainage with diagram or your map. So dendritic drainage, as you can see, it is seen in the Himalayan rivers. As you can see, these are the mountains. Simple. So dendrites, if you have studied in biology, so in nervous system we have got nerves. Okay, nerves like this. So ये कैसा स्ट्रक्चर बोला जाता है, डेंड्राइट्स, या फिर आपने पढ़ा होगा रूट सिस्टम. सो फाइब्रस रूट्स होती हैं. So fibrous roots may be, we have got dendrites. So similarly in rivers also, when tributaries join a river without following any pattern, just like this, it is known as dendritic drainage. So this is seen in Ganga. Okay. Now trellis. In trellis drainage, the tributaries join the main river. Suppose this is main river and this is a tributary. So tributaries join at parallel. These two are parallel. Similarly, these two are parallel. Then these two are parallel. So this is known as trellis drainage, and this is seen in peninsular river. For example, Godavari. If you see Godavari in the map, you will see this pattern. Now similarly, rectangular drainage. In rectangular drainage, the tributaries meet at 90-degree angle, like this, like this. These are the tributaries at 90-degree angle. So this is seen in Mahanadi. Okay. I hope you have your atlas with you. If you don't have, I will show you the diagram or the map. Okay. So if you see Godavari, this is Godavari. So Penganga and Vardha are the tributaries of Godavari, and these two are parallel. Okay. Similarly, similarly, Mahanadi, if you see, this Tel river is joining Mahanadi at 90-degree angle. लगभग 90 है, not exactly, but still. And this tributary coming from north, I missed its name. This is also 90-degree. So this is known as rectangular drainage and trellis drainage. Now, what is radial drainage? See, radial drainage is a drainage in which there is a central part and the rivers flow like this, as you can see in the diagram also. So, how do we come to this name? So, radius, you know what is radius in a circle? There is radius, okay, from the center to the circumference. So, similarly, we have got many radius, okay. So, same diagram, right? So that's how we get radial drainage. Now radial drainage, I referred to this example just now. Which was that example? Narmada. See, Amarkantak is a plateau in Madhya Pradesh, and through this many rivers flow in different directions. So one of them is Narmada, one of them is Son, and I am forgetting one or two names. You can Google it. Okay, so this is radial drainage. Okay, now some features made by rivers. This also I have explained with a diagram. Let's see.
Now let's move on to meander and oxbow lake. Okay, so meandering is a way in which a river flows. Like river is flowing in a snake pattern, like this. Okay, wavy pattern. So it is known as meandering. And how oxbow lake develops. So many rivers are perennial and many rivers are seasonal. So in seasonal rivers, dry patches occur. Like suppose in non-rainfall months, like in winter months from November to March or April, the river dries up. So what will happen? Suppose that discharge or the amount of water in this river decrease. So what will happen? This river will shrink, or maybe in some places the water flow will stop. So this can be seen as, so suppose the river is flowing. Okay. Now suppose in this part the dryness occurs in these areas where I have put a marker. So what will happen? This area will be cut off from the river. So this will develop a pattern like this. Okay. And the river will further flow like this. Why river will flow like this? Because the discharge has decreased but it has not ended. So river will flow but this area will be cut off. This area might also get cut off if it is in a higher level, means the land is not plain. Many places we have got rocks, many places we have got depressions. So river flows through everything, through rocks, through depressions. If you go into the hilly areas, you will see the rivers flowing through big stones. So the land is not like flat. So in this way the river will flow after some time and this lake will develop. This is known as oxbow lake. Why oxbow? Because it is in the shape of bow. You know bow and arrow. So this is like bow. Also ox, you know, because ox has got a hump like this at its back. So this is like or bow, you can visualize. Okay. Now, next topic is braided pattern. So river flows from its source. Suppose this is Ganga. So source is Gangotri and mouth is Bay of Bengal. It flows into Bay of Bengal in West Bengal. Okay. So suppose this is a river. It is flowing like this. So how does braided pattern develop and where does it develop? So braided pattern is this pattern which develops in the lower reaches of a river. If you visit hilly areas, you must have seen the river flows very fast. Like in Haridwar only, if you can see, it flows very fast, though it's not in the upper reaches of mountains. But as we go down near the mouth, its flow decreases. Okay, why it decreases? Because the amount of water carried also decreases. Then the distance, as the distance increases, the speed of water also decreases, because here the speed is due to altitude or the height or the slope, but here there is no slope. So why will be a water flow fast? There is no reason. So water doesn't flow fast here. So braided pattern occurs because of the small stones, pebbles and other sand and gravel. All these are present. So the river cannot push the stones, and hence it flows in this pattern. Wherever it finds the place, it flows through it and it leaves the stones behind. So these are the braids which develop. Okay, so this is the concept of braided pattern. In peninsular river, this braided pattern is more because there are less mountains or the height is less, so the velocity of flow of river is less. So more braided patterns develop in the peninsular river.
Okay, so those are few features made by the rivers. Now let's start with role of rivers in the economy. We all need water for drinking, for domestic purpose, for industry. So water is needed in every process. So it is very important for the economy. Okay, so that's what it's written. Okay, irrigation, navigation, even hydropower. What electricity we get from at our homes, we get it from water. Okay. Now similarly, we will study about river pollution, which is a burning topic nowadays. So how is river polluted? It is polluted with domestic, municipal, industrial and agricultural waste. Everywhere water is in demand. So in agriculture, you know, fertilizers are given to crops, and when the crops are given water, then water in excess overflows and it joins the streams which flows into the main river. So in this way pollution occurs. Similarly, from domestic sewage which is untreated, it is discharged into the rivers and pollution occurs. Similarly, from industries, a lot of effluents flow into the rivers. So in this way river is polluted. Okay. So this affects quality of water also, and also self-cleansing capacity of the rivers. Rivers have a self-cleansing capacity, but अगर उनको जरूरत से ज्यादा गंदा किया जाएगा, दूषित किया जाएगा, पोल्यूशन किया जाएगा, तो ये self-cleansing capacity भी खत्म हो जाएगी. So government has launched National River Conservation Program to control river pollution. You don't have to read about this, but you must know this is a program. Similarly, Namami Gange is also a program for Ganga. Okay. So this was all for today. You can see how a river is polluted. This is Howrah Bridge. So this is the Hooghly River. Similarly, this is also a river. This is also a river. All of it is polluted due to different kinds of human activities. So that was all for today. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, any queries, you can write in the comment section, and I will be with you with another lecture. Till then, keep watching, keep learning.